Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I got a special person that I've been wanting to cover for a long time, but I never really got around to covering her. If you guys know exactly who this lady is in the middle, I'm pretty sure you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. All right. Now, so let me go ahead and set the scene here for you. She is a female who wants to be in a position of power. And at first, she started running her she started running based off of the idea that she's going to be, as clear as possible and not work for any foreign entity. And she's not going to take money from APAC and so on and so forth. She understood quickly that, well, that's not going to work here in the United States. The people who are in power, they want you to hate Muslim. They want you to hate Muslim as much as possible because it's much easier for you to hate Muslim than actually get you to like them. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole idea that if you want to be in a position of power, you would have to do. She understood that from the get-go. She understood that we have to increase the hatred for Muslim as much as possible. So of course, her whole entire movement started being revolved around the idea that Muslims are bad. Sharia law is bad. Muslims are PDF files. Muslims are this, Muslims are that, and so on and so forth. So much so that people don't even take her serious anymore because, well, she left too much trail behind her as she was moving into this position right here, right? So, with that being said, let's go ahead and see how dumb she sounds and look when these gentlemen here pretty much call her bogus idea and her bigotry. Let's get it.
Especially if you're trying to build a strong, united country, you don't do it by dividing people like that.
Valentina Gomez, you were laughing as you were listening there. Many people have not been laughing at your video, particularly at phrases like "vote for me so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas." If you had a Muslim candidate in Texas saying "vote for me so we can kick every dirty Christian out of Texas," you would rightly, I imagine, be outraged at that. Why do you think it's acceptable to use a phrase like "so we can kick every dirty Muslim out of Texas"?
Good morning, Piers. And since you didn't have the decency of introducing me correctly, I'll happily do it. Good morning to all of my beautiful people in England. Hello to all of my lads in the UK. Last time I was there, I had an amazing time. I'm Valentina Gomez. I will be the next congresswoman for the state of Texas, and I'm a warrior of the one true King Jesus Christ. And England and Piers, the United States and England was built by white Christian men that follow Jesus Christ, not by a bunch of Mohammeds. So let's get that cleared out right away.
So you see the stupidity in her. She already when it comes to history, this lady is a dumbass. I'm just gonna go ahead and let you know that. See, if she understood just a little tiny base, like just a little tiny knowledge of English, she would understand that after World War II, England was on the brink of bankruptcy. They were literally like at the bottom of the barrel, I would say. Bunch of immigrants, Muslims included, are the one who migrated to England and actually helped build England. The reason why the hatred for Muslims in England right now is so ramped up is simply because the people who are in power, which you understand are the Z's, they encourage this. They want the politician and the media to focus solely on Muslims. So of course she's going to be on the bandwagon of, spreading that bigotry and the hatred of Muslim. And all it takes is just a little tiny history in order for you to understand that England was not built just by the white. Okay? Everybody, including Muslim, Indians especially, helped build England.
Right. You haven't answered my question. Why do you, if it was the other way around, you would be rightly outraged. Why do you think it's acceptable as somebody running for office in the United States to be so blatantly, why would you be so blatantly hateful towards one group of people?
You call it hateful and bigotry and racist and all of that garbage. I call it the truth. America is a Christian nation. These Muslims come to Christian nations, burn our churches, rape our women, shoot our American soldiers point blank, killing one of them in broad daylight, then chanting Allahu Akbar. Piers, my brother is a National Guardsman. He literally puts himself on the line for this nation. So yes, these dirty Muslims have no place in America and have no place in England.
But as you speak, you see, I'm just seeing a brazen Islamophobe. And people say that phrase doesn't exist. It doesn't.
Now, if you've been keeping track of the news, you will understand that the guy who went ahead and shot the National Guard was actually part of CIA. Yeah. I'm just saying, there's a lot of conspiracy behind that whole situation. And when you look into it, it starts to make a lot of sense as to why he did what he did. And all I want to say is that the timing of it is very, very suspicious. Keep that in mind.
And I'm sure you find it funny, but I think you can make perfectly pertinent points about what's happened here without descending into such vile hatred towards an entire religion. And there are 5 million
Here's the-
Muslims in the United States. Why would you want to categorize them in such a grotesque manner?
Oh, and those 5 million Muslims should definitely go back to their 56 Muslim nations. And let's get something very clear right now in your little show, Piers. I don't fear the groomers. I don't fear the pedophiles. I don't fear the corrupt politicians. And I definitely do not fear the dirty Muslims.
Let me bring in.
Can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
It's funny to me how she says she doesn't fear the PDF files. Meanwhile, she is willing to go work with them. I mean, hey, Valentina Gomez, you do realize that the Congress is filled with nothing but just PDF files, right? I mean, why do you think people have been working so hard to release the Epstein file? Why, you think it's because it's because of tax evasion? No, it's because there are people on that list who did grotesque things to little kids, and you want to go work with these people. You want to sit side by side with them. You want to shake their hands. But yeah, you make it seem like, oh, I'm not as scared of that. Really? You're not? She is a charlatan. She's a liar. She is somebody who is, I guess you can say she built like a character. You know what I mean? And she's selling you the idea that this is who she is, when in reality it's not. And the number one reason why I know that is because of her X account. It just go pull Valentina Gomez and just look it through her X account, and you will start to see the contradiction in her whole entire movement.
I mean, we should be clear about the fact. I mean, sure, Valentina is just a bigot, plain and simple, engages in the worst kinds of bigotry imaginable. But it's worth noting that she's fundamentally un-American, because the American Constitution says that you cannot discriminate against people based on religion. That is pretty clear. And so she's engaging in an anti-American campaign in the name of protecting America, which is just irony beyond imagination. So yes, she's a charlatan. She doesn't know what she's talking about. You can tell by looking at her that her IQ hovers around room temperature. To me, the real scandal is not engaging with her directly, because she's beneath taking seriously. But the problem is with the GOP, that you have a major party in this country having a candidate running under its flagship, engaging in this kind of really incredibly hateful, incendiary rhetoric, and they do nothing about it. We've seen it with the dissent with Donald Trump himself, with the lawlessness that he has brought to the table and the corruption that he's allowed to get away with, without the party really standing up and putting country before party and before president. And you can see that slippery slope now leading to this level, where you have just a complete hateful clown like this person representing that party without the party objecting to it.
Yeah,
you know what? Leading us towards a very, very dark place in this country.
I actually completely.
All right.
I completely agree with you. There are perfectly legitimate.
No, Piers. And to
well,
the
I
other
do.
Muslim,
I actually do agree with him. I think your brazen bigotry is obvious.
Let's make something very clear, Piers.
Yeah.
I only discriminate against terrorists. These terrorists have no place in America. They have no place in the world. And the best type of terrorist is a dead terrorist. And
See, if that's what she's claiming is true, let's go ahead and just name some of the things that happen here in the United States. Okay. If we were to go back, who are the group of people who ever assassinated a sitting president of the United States? Not Muslims. Who are the people who went ahead and sunk a Navy ship? Not Muslim. Who went ahead and destroyed 2 buildings on 7/11? They claim it was Muslim, but let's be quite honest. After 20 years later, and if he's making that claim, you still need to do a little bit more digging. So, not Muslim. Who has a lot of blackmail on literally the majority of the Congress, who are literally making laws in the United States that literally affect you and my life? Not Muslims. Who have to go and visit a wall, kiss the wall with a little hat on their head, okay? That's not Mecca. That's not Mecca. Why is the American life the way it is? Why are things so expensive? Why is inflation the way it is? Why is the economy the way it is? Why is the education the way it is? Muslims have zero power here in the United States of America. If you put all of these things together, okay, the majority of the attack that happened in America are not done by Muslims. Muslims have zero power here in the United States. But obviously, she doesn't want you to know that. She don't. Why? Because like I said, the people who are in power, it's much easier for them to make you hate Muslim than to actually make you like them, which is why she's running on this idea. Every single time Muslims are brought up, the emotion of the Americans gets ramped up. Let's continue.
Let's look at your Quran. Your Quran 8:12 states to terrorize and behead those who believe in scriptures other than the Quran. And that Afghani, that dirty Muslim that killed Sarah Beckstrom.
It doesn't actually say that, and this is the problem.
And Andrew Wolf, who is
All right, let me
fighting
bring in
on the
Kasim
Yeah,
Rashid. Welcome to Uncensored. If you'd like to say what you want to say.
Yeah, I co-sign everything Omar said there, and I think fundamentally this is where we are as a country, where rather than talking about real serious issues, we have these firebrands. I think she ran in Missouri, got 7%, moved to Texas to try to lose there as well. Look, the reality is that
See, she's a grifter.
We need to look at the facts here, and the facts tell us that immigration is a net positive in every single way to this country. The facts tell us a Northwestern University study of the last 150 years found that at no point in American history have immigrants had a higher crime rate than born U.S. citizens. We're talking about Somalia, and we're talking about Minnesota. Well, Minnesota is the 4th best state in the country to start a business and to live and to work. It's the 15th safest state in the country as well. And so, the difference here is that we want the constitutional principles of due process of law to apply. And this idea that we're a Christian nation is contradicted by the founders of this country itself. We are actually a secular democratic republic where people can believe or not believe as they wish without oppression. And I think it's critically important that whatever our political differences, we stand united on this basic principle that human dignity, human rights, religious freedom must be protected, even for those with whom I disagree, because at the end of the day, that's what the First Amendment requires, that's what the Constitution requires. If we lose that principle, then we deteriorate into fascism and anarchy, and I don't think anybody wants that.
At least somebody has a brain on there. And so what I was trying to say earlier on was the fact that when one person whose name is Muhammad does something stupid, they like to blame all Muslims. I can name so many crimes that has happened by other religious group of people, all right? One individual, of course, but they don't blame the entire religion altogether. Rather, they blame the individual. Rather, they'll say, oh, this person is sick-minded. Oh, they were so lonely. They have no friends. So they decide. They will give every single excuse under the sun to make sure that they completely detach themselves from these people, whether that's white or Christian or Jew or Hindu, you name it. But when it comes to Muslims, it's all Muslim. This is how they all think. And I'm just like, why aren't you charitable? Why don't you use the same exact tactic that you use, for example, if a Christian does something or if a Jewish person does something, right? Why don't we ever call it like Jewish extremism? You know what I mean? Because it's real. It's something that is real. And the reason I say it's real is because you have the T out there, right, who are literally committing heinous crime in the name of Judaism. That is a reality. And you also have the same thing for Muslims. You also have the same thing for Christian. Every single religion have a bad apple. But when it's put under the microscope, every other religion gets a little special treatment and a little bit of excuse. But when it comes to the Muslim, well, nah, it's not just one of them. It's all of them. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there, ladies and gentlemen. You get the whole idea now. This lady, she's a moron. Somewhere in the interview, she was asked about the whole 20-year war and what's her opinion on it. And she just went on default mode. Instead of answering the question, rather she was like, I was only, 4 years old or something at that time? I was like, no, that wasn't the question. The question was, what do you think of the 20-year war that happened in Afghanistan and the idea that they had weapons of mass destruction? Was that an act of T or not? And of course, she didn't answer it per usual, because you understand that you don't want to talk about things like that if you want to make it to Congress. You can't talk about stuff like that. You have to keep it hush-hush, keep it down. Don't worry about the crime that we have committed, and just, make sure you hate Muslim as much as you possibly can. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and, I'll catch you guys up in the next video.